Okay, let's get started. You're gonna need your slab, you're gonna need your extra clay, your slip container, your needle tool, and your wooden tool. So, you're gonna grab a bit of extra clay, and this is gonna determine the size of your eyeball. Remember, we're working 3D, so we want a round shape. And I'm just gonna take a bit of my clay and sort of roll it in my hands like you would make a sphere. And some of you have thin slabs, so be careful with it, but I'm just gonna lightly press down in the middle of my slab to determine where my eye is gonna go. I think that's about a good size. So I'm gonna take my sphere, I'm gonna press it down a little bit, not totally into a hockey puck shape, but just slightly flatter than a sphere. And as you do this, if it doesn't happen automatically, just shape it a bit so it's more of an oval, more of that egg shape that we used when we made the mouths. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. It's like not quite a sphere, almost an oval. And I'm gonna score and slip that onto my slab in the middle and that little divot that we made. Do not make an extremely deep divot in the middle. This one is very, very subtle. And I'm gonna score and slip it on there and lightly press it into my slab. All right, now we're gonna wanna make the upper and lower lids. So you're gonna take some of your extra clay and you're gonna roll out a pretty thicker coil because we are gonna press these flat. I'd say I'm happy with that. It's like a little over half the width of my eyeball. And after you've rolled out your coil on the table, you're gonna take it and you're gonna press it so that now we have more of a thin strip instead of a thick coil. Keep going. I honestly don't need that much, so I'm gonna tear it off. So your end result should be this flat piece of clay. And this is gonna make our upper eyelid. And I know your instinct is to, actually that's a bit too thick. You do want it a bit thinner. I know your first instinct is to perfectly wrap it around in an almond shape. I want you to consider the natural slope of how an upper eyelid would fit on an eyeball. And I'm gonna start from the inner corner. Lightly press as I wrap it around. And I'm gonna start tilting the flat piece of clay until it reaches all around the eyeball. Mine's a bit too long, so I'm just gonna trim it up because I honestly don't need it to be that wide. Oh, oops. Right. And then either with your hands or your wooden tool, or whatever works best for you, you're gonna blend that upper eyelid into the rest of your slab. Again, don't press down and make your slab thinner. Just drag the clay from side to side so that it blends as one piece. And we'll go back and do some extra shaping. All right, I think now we are ready for our lower lid. Just want you to be able to see there. Now we have something that sort of covers that eyeball. So for your lower eyelid, it's really similar, but this time, after you make your coil, which is going to be a bit thinner, actually much thinner than your first coil, you're not going to press it flat. You're going to keep this one round, and you're going to go along from the inside corner, wrap around, all the way to the end there. And if you have extra, you can just trim it off. And then same thing with your hands, needle tool, wooden tool. You're gonna take this coil, because we have our line on the top and our line on the bottom. By the way, do not blend the inside lines that are touching the eyeball. Always keep those there. Oops. And I'm really dragging the clay so it kind of blends in with the upper lid and the rest of the slab. On the bottom. And sometimes it is easier to just go in there and use your hands. Alright. Maybe take some time, smooth out your eyeball shape in the middle and your upper and lower lids. Take some time with your needle tool, with your wooden tool, to make sure that the line of your upper lid and your lower lid are a straight curve and not like very lumpy. So right now you should have something like this. Right now we're going to take some additional clay to add more shape to our upper and lower lid. So it's a matter of opinion. This might not apply to you, but I actually think my upper lid needs a bit more clay. So I'm going to roll a mini coil like I did for the lower lid and press it flat, just so I have a little piece of flat clay. And I'm gonna go back and actually add on to this to sort of change the shape of my eye a bit to match the photo of the eye in the diagram that has all of the parts of the eye we've been using. Okay, so I kind of like this eye shape. So now that I know I like the shape of what parts of my eyeball are exposed, I'm gonna go in with your needle tool, with your wooden tool, and blend that extra piece, if you did add it, into the rest of your eye. So I'm just gonna blend that down a bit. And I'm gonna take some slip and just smooth things out, to sort of get rid of that texture that my wooden tool is making. Remember, don't use too much slip. You don't want things to get too mushy. Alright, for the last bit of shaping of the upper and lower lid, lower lid, I'm going to take a thinner coil, thinner than what I used for my lower lid here. And I'm just gonna press it flat. So essentially, you just wanna make like a little tiny flat piece. And on your lower lid, you're gonna add it to the middle here. And again, usually I would say to score and slip, but we're about to merge this very much, where that does not matter as much as it usually would. And just carefully, and you know, you're gonna need some tiny, delicate movements. We're working small here. Just blend it into the slab and the rest of your lower lid, just so we give a bit more volume to the lower lid. It's a process of trial and error. If you feel like you added too much clay, take some off. If you feel like you need more, add some on. Right. I'm pretty happy with that shape. Just get rid of some dry pieces that got on my eyeball because I used a wooden tool that wasn't clean. And whenever I smooth out with my hands, remember I'm dragging my hand across the clay. I'm not pressing down. All right, I think we have a good foundation for our eyeball. Now let's talk about the surrounding skin that your face would have. You sort of have this eyelid and upper brow bone that we need to add, just so like the eyeball's not awkwardly sticking out of your slab so much. We want to make some surrounding area, just like we did with the mouth slabs that we made. So to do that, we're going to take some clay, and this depends on the size of your slab. So, you know, decide accordingly on how much clay you're going to want to add. But for me, I'm going to take a thicker coil that almost fills up the rest of the top of my slab and is around the same length as my eyeball. And I'm gonna score and slip it on there. Notice how this is really like a lumpy, uneven shape. It's because we're about to blend it up very much, just like we did when we added coils to the upper and bottom lip, and then we blended it into the rest of the slab. So we're about to do that here, but just to make our brow bone. Okay, add some slip. And I'm gonna firmly press it on there so that is right up against the eyeball that I just made. Okay, press it in. And then you're gonna take your wooden tool, your hands if you think that would work better. And I'm gonna do the same thing we did with the mouth slab. And I'm just gonna drag the clay. I'm not pressing down, I'm just dragging the clay to sort of blend it in with the rest of my slab. One thing I will say, do not completely blend, do not completely blend this new clay piece into your eyeball quite yet, okay? We're just blending it in with the rest of the slab. Now I'm going to take some time with my hands to smooth out that texture that my clay tool has made. It's important to keep things smooth as you move along, so you don't end up with something too cracked or bumpy at the end. All right. Now if we pick it up and look at it from the side, we can see we're starting to add on what the surrounding heights and textures would be with a real eyeball. All right, this next part, take your needle tool, and we are going to redraw the line a little bit. You're going to take your needle tool and just start pushing the clay a little bit closer to your eyeball from the clay that you just added. You don't have to completely merge them together because for some people there is a line between their brow bone and their eyelid. And for some people there isn't. So it's kind of personal preference on what shape of eye you want to sculpt. If you're trying to sculpt someone with lower eyelids or higher eyelids for a surprise expression, it's just personally what you want to make. All right. Let me try and smooth this little bit out right there. Yeah, okay. And if I feel like I lost this line too much, I might lightly trace it in with my needle tool. This line right here, like between your brow bone and your eyelid. All right, now let's do a much smaller version of what we just did on the top on the bottom. So I'm gonna take a little bit of clay, much less than what I did on the top of my slab. And again, it depends on the size of your eye, it depends on the size of your slab. So it's kind of yours to calculate. And I think I want to add a bit of clay here in the inner corner. And a bit of clay here where maybe someone's cheekbone would be. So sort of, let's just imagine the nose being right here. It would sort of make a ramp into the under eye skin. And this is where maybe someone's upper cheekbone would be. So I'm just going to score and slip these on. And maybe you don't have the space in your slab for them. That's totally fine as well. It's kind of up to you to decide. Okay, I'm gonna lightly press it down. I'm gonna score this piece as well. Lightly press it down. And then I'm gonna take my wooden tool and again, not drag or press down, but drag the clay into the rest of the slab. And I know it's looking rough, but you can smooth it out with your hands after. Okay. Don't be afraid to really blend it in there. I'm going to do the same over here with my cheekbone piece. I'd say they're blended in pretty well. Again, notice how rough and bumpy that looks. If you just drag your hands over it and take the time to smooth it out, it'll start looking like a surrounding eye area. This step is really important to do. Going back and smoothing things out. I feel like this part is a bit too high, so I might scrape some off. That's just my slab. It's up to you on how much clay you need to think you need to add. Alright. Now that we've addressed the surrounding areas of our eye, let's go back and start shaping up our eyeball a little bit more. So for the inner corners of the eye, this is going to be my inner corner. So on this side, if you kept going, it would be the side of my head to my ear. On this side, if you kept going, it would reach my nose and then my other eye. So for the inner corner, and I might pick this up just so you can see a little bit better. You just want to take your needle tool and subtly just carve out a little triangle. You don't want to dig a super deep hole in the corner of the eye. You just want to subtly remove a little bit of the clay and smooth it out as you go. And I need to redefine my upper and lower lid. And then sometimes in the outer corner of the eye, you can see a little bit of space because our eyeballs, even though we added on like an oval shape, our eyeballs are like round spheres on the inside. It just looks more oval because our eyelids cover up the top and bottom. But you can sort of tell if you look at sometimes people from the side. Okay. And I'm gonna go in and smooth out the little bits that like pop up when you try and like draw things in with your needle tool. All right. You know, looking at it now, I think I need a little bit more clay for my lower lid. That does look a lot better to me. So I'm actually gonna score and slip this on. Again, look at maybe some reference photos of some eyes. And if you think you need to change the shape of your upper and lower lid, go for it, because everybody has different shaped eyes. So there's a million different ways you could do this. And I'm going to smooth it out. Alright, I'm quite happy. Whoops. I'm quite happy with this shape. Maybe just I should merge it on a bit better. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to make this line. Alright, I think now I am very happy with the shape. Alright, before we do our last step, just double check, make sure, go through with your hands, make sure everything is smoothed out. Maybe take some slip. I think we're ready to add the iris and the pupil. Sort of the part where people have different colored eyes, and then that little black dot in the middle. So there's a lot of different ways you could do this. The placement is up to you. Depends on the expression that you want. Maybe you can draw your pupil and iris like going upwards into the lid. You can also draw it directly in the middle, Just remember that your iris does not take up your entire eye. It takes up less than a third. Maybe your eyeball is looking downwards into the side. So draw with your needle tool wherever you want your person's eye to be looking. Maybe they're annoyed and they're looking upwards to the side. You know, kind of up to you. Just to be standard, I'm just going to put my iris and pupil directly in the middle of my eyeball and sort of trace it out. Get rid of some of those bits. And then also determine the size of your pupil. Are your pupils dilated? Are they super tiny? Is your person looking directly into the light? Definitely up to you, so I'm going to draw another little circle. Alternatively, sometimes people decide to, and maybe see if we can find a tool to do this, but sometimes people decide to press inwards to sort of carve out a pupil in their iris instead. So it's definitely up to you on where your iris and pupil are in the eye, how big they are. Do you just draw them on? Do you dig it out? All personal preference. Once you get to this step, and just for time's sake, I'm not going to show it on video, but take your time to smooth out like little bits that have come up from your needle tool. Maybe some texture from the surrounding area. Once you're confident that you're done, you followed all the steps, take your needle tool, you're going to trim all the edges of your slab so we have straighter lines on all sides. You're gonna write your name on the back, and then you can go and put it on the cart to dry. And that is mostly all of the steps.